If you like this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon. For just $1 a month, your name can appear at the beginning of this and many other upcoming videos.
You're just like us, Scoot. You have an important job that only you can do. You love it, and it helps all of Equestria.
Sometimes that means missing out on other things you love, like watching our daughter grow into a pony we're very proud of.
Wow. You two are horrible. At long last, Scootaloo's parents make an appearance on the show, confirming once and for all that she's not an orphan. Hoy, what a dumb headcanon that was. And seeing as how it's the last Crusade, it also seems like the last CMC episode. So, does their story arc end on a note as high as Spike's? Well, let's look at it first. Scootaloo gets a letter from her parents that they'll be returning to Ponyville soon. They show up to save the school and take some time to catch up with her. But when they decide to take Scootaloo with them on their next job, the CMC are worried about being separated forever. So they put together a bunch of silly plans to convince Scootaloo's parents to let her stay. So what is there about this final CMC episode that does or doesn't work? Well, for one thing, Scootaloo's parents come across as really neglectful. Not only have they been absent for most of her life, but now they're trying to remove her from her home and surrogate family. I mean, they've shown before that they make long-term arrangements for her aunts and other townspeople like the Kates and Rainbow Dash to watch over her, but that doesn't change the fact that they haven't been a constant presence in her life like they should be. In parental guidance, Scootaloo says outright that she dreamed of having parents that support her so strongly. If her relationship with her parents is so close and loving like we see in the first act, why would she say something like that? I mean, she's clearly close with them, and she really expresses how proud she is of their job and doesn't hold anything against them for being away because she considers it important. So it just makes the relationship she's supposed to have with her parents come across as confusing. Was it unintentional neglect? Were they visiting every once in a while? Did they ever take Scootaloo with them on an adventure? I mean, if her parents were really that close to her, you'd think they would have visited her when she got her cutie mark. The biggest life-changing moment she's ever been through. Regardless of what kind of job or responsibilities you have, the entire point of being a parent is being there for your child. They should be taking more time to be present with her. Not to mention, they're only now showing up to Ponyville because of the earth-shattering dangers? Why didn't they return when Tyrek was attacking? Or when the Changelings and the Storm King were invading? All those dangers their daughter went through and only now they're coming to her aid? That is asinine. And what makes it even worse is when they show up after years of being absent and want to take Scootaloo away from Ponyville, they do so without any concern for her feelings. They didn't give her a say in deciding to move away from her home and livelihood as a crusader. I mean, it'd be one thing if the parents were there more, but this is their first appearance in the show in the final season. This is the same problem they did with Garble a few weeks ago. They introduce a huge element to a key character at the very tail end of the series. It's like the staff are saying, yeah, Scootaloo has parents, we were just too lazy to put them there. The point is, parents are supposed to consult with their children about this kind of stuff. And the parents are so strict about taking her with them that they didn't bother to discuss this before reaching a decision. They don't consider how she would handle the change or how much the town has grown onto her since they left her there for years, ripping her away from the only world that she knows. They might be her parents, but she's realistically gonna want to stay with the people who were actually there most of her life. Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, the main seven, Big Mac, Cheerilee, even the mayor was around them more than their actual parents. And because Scootaloo's parents are only showing up now, they're gonna come across as huge strangers to the audience. So obviously we're gonna want Scootaloo to stay in Ponyville rather than go with them. If they wanted to make the parents more sympathetic, they should have made them a bigger presence in Scootaloo's life. These are parents who hardly spend time with you, only to show up and suddenly rip you away from your home, friends, and livelihood. At least the lesbian aunts were actually there and listened to what she had to say and understood her needs. Rainbow Dash is more of a parent than these two. I'm sorry if I spent a lot of time yelling at these two, but they just really aggravated me. I can understand wanting what's best for your child, but the problem is that these two are completely clueless to what that actually is. They should have spent more time with her, or learned more about what she's been through these past 9 seasons. They should have spent more time trying to understand Scootaloo's place in Ponyville before deciding to take her away. They shouldn't just invite themselves to town only to abruptly tell her she's moving. Was this supposed to be a reference to Jane Goodall and her son, where they had to part ways because of her job in African animal studies and was concerned for her son's safety? If that's what they wanted to do, they should have put more time into implementing it into the story better. Okay, I've talked about these two long enough, so let's move on to something else. So what else is there to talk about? Well, I really like Scootaloo in this episode. I really emphasize with her situation, and the episode puts a lot of time into showing how it's affecting her. One day you're just suddenly packing everything and then up and leaving without a warning. It's obviously going to have a strong effect on her. The parents are making big decisions without acknowledging her feelings and don't give her a choice. They weren't there for Scootaloo to watch her grow while the townspeople were there. They were there to see all of her personal accomplishments, and that's obviously gonna mean a lot to her. She grew attached to the town because they became her family over the years, and Ponyville is her true home where she belongs. She felt that her parents had no right to force her to leave because they were taking that away. It even helps reinforce her conflict and parental guidance. Because her parents were so absent, it came across as refreshing for Scootaloo to spend time with parents who not only are there for you, but deeply support you throughout your life. Dash was actually better off than Scootaloo because although her parents were clingy and overattached, they were actually there to support their child. Why wouldn't Scootaloo want parents like Dash's when hers weren't even around? Then Dash reveals to her that not only does she not want them around, but actively avoided them. Considering Scootaloo's situation, it's obviously gonna come across as an emotional whiplash to her. She explains how happy she felt for Dash that her parents were actually there, and how their care made her into the pony she developed into and eventually became another big part of her life. It actually gives more reason for why she would think of Dash as a big sister. The episode just does a really good job getting you to sympathize with Scootaloo's situation. Because it's so sudden and forced on her and how it clashes with all of her experiences in Ponyville, you're just rooting for her to find a way to stay. Even before that, she comes across as really adorable and lovable. The excitement and enthusiasm she shows when explaining her parents' job to the other students while anticipating their return, you can really tell that she has strong feelings about her family. The way she expresses herself in the scene is just too sweet to pass up. And the ending? I think it's actually a really good ending. It feels like a real culmination to the CMC storyline. We get so many returning cameos from every episode involving the CMC. Troubleshoes, Babsy, Gabby, Featherbangs, Tendertaps, that kid from Marks and Recreation whose destiny is to tie knots. That's just sad. Every character the CMC has helped throughout the entire series makes an appearance in this scene, and it really emphasizes the triumph in how far the CMC have come since the very beginning. Not just finding their marks, but helping others find their place in the world. It shows just how much of a real impact the group has made, helping others discover their purpose, learn about themselves, helping them be true to themselves, just making a positive difference in their lives. Scootaloo has developed much deeper relationships with all of these characters than with her parents. In a way, they all helped raise her more than they did. The people of Ponyville and all these other characters really are her family. And not just Scootaloo, but the CMC as a whole. All of these characters help the CMC grow in their own way, and they've really become family to them, really resonating the importance of their friendship. It's a really cathartic ending and one of the most meaningful. I will admit there could have been more to it since a huge chunk of these characters don't get a speaking role, which is really disappointing considering this is the end of the line for Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. There are some people who said that Scootaloo should have moved away so we can get a moral about how real friends may drift apart but will always care about each other and be connected in some way, or may see each other again someday, but that's probably something we'll get in the finale. And considering how rude Scootaloo's parents are, I'd say her staying in Ponyville is a much better ending. So as a whole, The Last Crusade is a pretty nice episode. It may not be the best CMC episode, but it feels like a proper conclusion to their storyline. The parents are annoying, but Scootaloo's character is handled nicely. And the ending is really sweet and so satisfying. And it's an episode that really shows how this is the end. And it's closer than we think. See you next week.